Boundless Authenticity podcast.
Thanks for tuning in to the Boundless Authenticity podcast. On this episode, we are joined again by Miesha Johnston to continue a bit more of her story. So Miesha is who I would consider to be a fearless truth seeker. She's an author and a galactic guide. She is also a third generation ET experiencer, and she's had contact with, I believe, 8 types of extraterrestrials, plus some extremely shocking MILAB and MK-Ultra encounters, which include things like missing time. And I believe you said it was a mysterious marriage that you can't remember. Miesha is also a certified hypnotherapist if you're interested. And please direct some of your messages and questions her direction, because I get a lot of them asking for things that are simply not in my wheelhouse. Okay. So I'm glad that Miesha can do this for you. She's also a multidimensional trance channel, and she leads some powerful regression sessions. She speaks fluent galactic light languages and helps others uncover hidden cosmic truths. She's also credited by founding the first ET contactee support groups for adults and teens in the United States, and runs weekly experiencer Zoom groups for over a decade, which I've been trying to get onto, but I get technical difficulties. I'll get there one day. Anyways, Miesha has been featured on international television, spoken at some of the top UFO conferences, and is featured in the Prime TV documentary We Are Not Alone. She's also the author of Covert Abduction, They Weren't Butterflies, You Can Handle the Truth. She has a galactic genealogy book and chart, plus an ET-themed oracle deck. You can visit starseedawakening.org or ufonightwatch.com. So I think today we are going to continue with a presentation on ET experiences and MK-Ultra.
Okay. I just got my last book delivered to me, so I was just trying to open up the box while you were talking, but it'll make a lot of noise. So.
You're muted, Miesha.
Okay, so I did just finish this book. It says, You Can Handle the Truth. This is my whole life. So some of the pictures in my PowerPoint that I'm going to show today are the same as in my book. So if you want more details and everything, you can go to my book. I do have it on my website, starseedawakening.org, or you can, and I can give you a signed copy, or you can go to Amazon.com throughout Europe and others. I have it on Kindle, audio, and of course, paperback. So that's with all of my books. Okay. So I'm going to share the screen and kind of tell you about my life. Now, okay. I was on the show before, so I'm just going to kind of give you quick pictures, images with very quick descriptions. Does that work? And because if they've listened to it before, they've already. So here we go. So my first contact was with these little guys that were furry. I'm not going to go into the detail of how I found them, but I did find them at about 3 years old. And they were underneath the staircase, and they became my invisible friends. Now, when I grew up, I saw the movie Star Wars, and I said, oh my goodness, that's my Bee Gees, the Bears. That's my Bee Gees. So a whistleblower gave me this picture and said that this is an image of the actual ones as well, that actually, I guess, Spielberg took some images from that. And of course, I have lifelong experiences with ETs as a child, and at 4 years old, that I met this one, which is a tall white one without hair, about to what I would say 5.5, maybe even 6 feet tall. Along with him were 3 little fellows that were, I don't have that picture of them, but they came to my window and they looked like little baby deers. And so I thought they were deers. And when they'd come to the window, I'd see them at the window. The gray one, the tall white one, would be in the room. I'd see them at the window, and then next thing I know, they're in the room. And I thought they were baby deers. That's what they look like. So this one was with me through my entire hybrid program. I'll tell you about the next experience I had. Was at age 16, I had an experience when I went to bed. I woke up, I was outside, and there was a big ship and above me, and I was getting in and out of consciousness. The next thing I know, I am in the ship on a table, and I had these little grays around me, and gynecological examinations and doing things like that. And I started to freak out, but the willowy one that I just showed you, that one, leaned over and looked into my eyes and said, "This is necessary for the hybrid program." Well, then in the distance, I see 3 beings in cloaks. And I knew I had an energy that I knew that I recognized one of them. So I asked, and one of them stepped forward, dropped his cloak, and this is what he looked like. Well, I do not like a very, very reptile phobia. And so I passed out. I absolutely just passed out. And I did find out later in my life that he ended up being my protector. And that's why he was there in the first place. So I'm not really going to go into the whole Rosicrucian childhood things, Rosicrucian, but I was born into an MK-Ultra family, shall we say that. And my life consisted of my father was, shall we say, my trauma-based mind control handler. I have, including like my grandmother, she was also a Rosicrucian black magic. My father was the black magician as well. So that was that side of it. Then the other side of it was the Masons, and I ended up being the Job's daughter. But at 4 years old, I would go visit my grandmother at her home. My father would drop me off there, and supposedly I was visiting her, but I never ever remembered any of my visits. Well, the reason I didn't is because I found out through hypnosis that she would take me and drop me off at the Blackfoot Insane Asylum. And that's where I had the majority of all of my training, programming, the torture from this asylum. And in fact, that particular asylum they found 1,000 graves, unmarked graves there when they unearthed that area. They were rebuilding a new hospital there. Not hospital, but it was a psychiatric ward there. And they found these graves. So, that's part of that story too. So through that time, they would do desensitization and things with me, put me in little small rooms with a little cot, deprive food of water, put into boxes that were like coffins with sometimes alone, just to be all alone in there, so that they're trying to get your psyche to splinter. And so that there's different tortures along with drugs, not psychotronic, electric shock, And then, of course, these desensitization tools they'd use, along with physical and painful torture they'd use to get your psyche to split into alters. And so what I'll talk about a little bit more as I would go along is alters. But you'll hear in my experiences that I have missing periods of time, and that's because alters were triggered and brought forward. And my father, like I said, was a black magician. He was part of the mind control himself. He was totally mind controlled. Two pictures of him. It was one picture of him when he was a teenager and another picture when he was 6 years old, when he was looks like about 5 or 6 years old. And he's got long ringlets and he's wearing a dress. So there was some sick stuff that went on there as well. I have no doubt. Not to mention his brother was also an MK-Ultra, I'm sure, because he ended up being a cult leader in California in the San Fernando Valley from 49 to 1958. And we know that I've definitely found out that it was a CIA mind control program to see if people would follow a cult leader and give up all of their belongings, all their riches, turn it all over to him and his church. Krishnaventa was his name. And so that was my dear uncle, who actually, Charles Manson, you can actually look this up. It's very easy to find on different sites and such, especially if you go to like some of the like DuckDuckGo or something like that. And you can look up how Charles Manson fashioned himself after Krishnaventa. And Krishnaventa actually was kind of nuts himself because he thought he was the reincarnation of Jesus Christ. So that's a strange background in my family. My father was a magician. This is my sister. My brother and sister were both taken into the life of this illusionist and black magician. He was a hypnotist as well. This is my three siblings, and two of my siblings ran away from home before the age. Well, they got back from home from one of their on the road, because they had go on the road for months at a time for these magic shows, and they were all over in different states in the western states. And so then they ran away. This one and this one ran away. He was 14 when he ran away, and she was 16 when she ran away, so that they didn't have to be involved in this anymore. Strange things happened in my family that I had 9 siblings. I was the 9th one, and 4 of those siblings never made it past 2 years. Yeah, maybe 2.5 years old. Strange things happened. So, I think a lot of them had things happen to them. So what they look for in a mind control situation is they discover it's a generational thing, that splitting the alters, multiple personalities, or just dissociative identity disorder are a generational thing. And so they look for people like families like that. That's why it follows generations. Now I'm also they look for CIA. The CIA looks for people that they can blackmail. I don't think my father was a pedophile or a murderer, but I don't know. I really don't have any idea that why they ended up taking him, other than his background in the MK-Ultra with his mother. So I've already kind of gone into this. But some of the electric shock and sensory deprivations and things like that they did actually can cause different problems within people, brain problems. I have a shake in my body that I know it's caused from them. It's not the usual one. I can't think of what it's called. Parkinson's. It's not Parkinson's. It's not that. But they don't know exactly what caused it. So there's many different ways and things that they did and why they wanted this. So adrenochrome is one of the terror hormones created by you, created by taking blood and more than blood. I'm trying to think of what it is that they take from children at times where they're in the most terrifying fear, like maybe during a ritual ceremony when they're being killed or tortured. This adrenochrome comes up. It's part of the reasons that they use children is for that, because they have the cleaner, untainted blood. So, of course, they use drugs, like I said, LSD, ketamine, mescaline, psilocybin, scopolamine, all different kinds of drugs are used in these programs. I kind of told you about that. And there's, of course, like I'm saying, about the splitting of... Now, if you have any questions, please ask, okay? But any questions so far?
I'm good so far.
Okay. All right. So there's an altar that is a sad altar in the middle. There's a kind of an happy altar there, and then a very evil altar there. So what they do try to do is when they split your psyche, they start bringing in different personalities from, and what I have determined through my hypnosis sessions, that they go off planet, parallel lives, and off planet, lives that you are living or lives that you have lived, and abilities that you had in those lives, and they pull them in. Now, because we're not just good, loving people. We've had lives where we were evil, while we killed people, where we tortured people. So we really had some evil lives. So they'll take some of those bad things and pull them forward, and somehow put them in this split altars, these splintered altars. And because what they do is the brain is compartmentalized. They do a lot of work with me. They did a lot of things in my brain, testing my brain for different things and stuff. And what they were doing was programming my altars. And it's like you take your brain compartmentalized into all different kinds of altars. I have 82 altars, but I have 7 to 8, shall I say, frontline altars, shall we say. They're the most advanced altars. The other ones are what I call floating altars, where, like, for instance, if you're a spy in one of these altars, you need to be able to know how to hand-to-hand combat. You also need to know how to pick a lock. You also need to know how to do all these other things. Well, all these other abilities and tech and knowledges and things like that, and learned how to do, or shoot, or anything like that, are all those floating altars that they can bring in to my main 8 altars, and which they did. Okay. So I hope that explains a little bit about that. It's a very important thing that they do. They also will take entities, and with some of your altars, they will put entities in there to not only block you from being able to come out of it, but control that persona, that altar, to the degree that it is too afraid to come forward. Okay, so also I was in the part of the secret space program, not a super soldier by any means, but I was used in the programs. And I'm not going to show this one this is during a PowerPoint, I would show it, but I'm just going to give you a little background about my secret space program. So I was 11 years old when I first was put into the secret space program. And I was trained to first look at different types of hologram images of aliens and things like that. And as we got older in our training, they would put us in holographic scenarios to fight. And in this one, he actually explains about that. I don't know if you want to hear that or watch that or not, but he explains what they do.
Yeah, this is Jay Widener, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead. He's fantastic. Go ahead.
Okay. Let me see. Hopefully it's going to work. And if I don't know if it's going to work because ever since, no, it's not going to work. I'm sorry. It is not going to work.
It's not going to work? Okay.
No, it's not going to work here because I couldn't get into the main thing here. I don't know why. Let me see. Do you see any place there where it says slide presentation? I don't. And it should have a slide presentation, and it doesn't. So I don't know why there's no slide presentation. That's what's usually on as a slide presentation. So I can't show it. I'm sorry to say, but I will tell you that he talks about the training that they do with us in there. And so with me, they did that kind of training, and then they would send us outside, and I got the feeling it was Mars. And the reason why I absolutely know it was Mars because during a hypnosis session later, I did find out that I actually communicated with the aliens that we were interacting with. Actually, we were the bait for them, I should say. So there we are, kids that are 12 now, 13, 14 years old maybe, and we're in uniforms and we're taken and led out into this, I think, Mars area, just in front of a big mountain. And all of a sudden, these insectoids come out that, to me, are more like a mantis insectoid versus an insectoid ant. It's more like a mantis to me. And and they attack us, and then the soldiers attack them. So they did actually. I was injured by one of them, and then I was taken into a med bed, actually, it was a med tank is what it was for me. It was a med tank that they dropped me into, and it healed me. But in the regression, I ended up talking to this one that attacked me, and he telepathically because in hypnosis sessions, you can go right into an experience, because there's no time out there. So it's as if everything's happening simultaneously. All right. So you can go into that experience and you can talk to the alien. And I do this with people all the time. So I'm talking to this alien, and he says that I'm here protecting my family and my friends who live in the mountain. But your people want our minerals that we have for their technology. And all we want to do is be left alone. So it was kind of very sad situation. I just wanted to share that one with you. Okay, now you're not going to let me go forward. Come on. Okay, so I'm not going to go into that. I'm going to jump forward to the monarch and programming. Okay, so when I'm going to explain this to you as well, but I want to just go to here. Okay. So there's a Delta program, there's a Theta program, there's a Gamma, there's Omega, there's Alpha, Beta. All right. So they start with Alpha. Alpha is a programming that they give slaves a photographic memory. Beta is sexual programming. They put us also into presidential models. Not everybody, but some of us. I was in the presidential models programs as well, and I was a Beta slave. And Delta is assassination program, alters trained to combat assassination or espionage. So they can either be combat, super soldiers, that type of thing, assassination, or they can be assassination in a spy situation where we have to go in and get information. And so they will have us assassinate. That's when they pull in, you've got one alter and they pull in another alter to do the assassination. The Theta program is psychic killer program where you have psychic abilities. He's able to cause aneurysm from anywhere. You can do it from anywhere in the world remotely. And it's done with a remote viewing. So we're all taught to be, or not all, but many of us are taught to be remote viewers. And I was. The Gamma program is a deception program that alters are trained to deceive their therapists and such. There's also that part of that deception program that is actually taking people who were in the programs and brought them out into public and had their alters take over to give disinformation. So they're also part of the disinformation. So you might even see it in ufology, in the new age movement and different things like that, where people are actually used by these programs. These different alters come out and give disinformation. I was part of the driving program. The auto checker program is an interrogation program. So we're taught how to handle pain for interrogation so that you can't have anything, in the interrogation brought out. You're able to withstand any of it, because when they start the interrogation and the pain and the torture, the another alter comes in, and that alter is completely programmed not to be able to handle any amount of pain. In fact, pain versus pleasure to them. They have been so mind controlled that pain really feels like pleasure. So that alter comes in.
And this is done by Dr. Ewan Cameron?
Yes, the driving program was Dr. Ewan Cameron. Absolutely. And he sold that to the CIA, and the CIA used that on us. And so in my program, I will just go on and explain that. So in January of 1968, I went to college for this pre-college open house. And while I was there, a man walked up to myself and a group of people I was standing and talking with. And he said, "Hey, do you guys want to make some money? You can make like $430 if you join my my dream program. And all we do is, it's just not a program, a dream study. And all we do is we just have you dream, and then we watch you and watch what you do when you dream." So I said yes, and I went to it, and there were doctors in there, and they put me in a bed and they hooked me up, and that was the last thing I remembered until 8.5 months later, 7.5, 8 months later. I'm wake up on a bus, and I'm looking at this last name that's not my last name, and I can't remember much of anything, just these little flashes that are coming into my head, like I was married, and my husband didn't want me. And then another one was a flash came into my head about a big mansion, and then the words that came into my head, which was the programming, said, "You were there cleaning houses." And I see an image of me, myself, in a bus with other girls and boys that are like 13 to 16 maybe. And we're taken to the back of that mansion. And it's not daytime where you'd clean houses or clean a mansion. It's nighttime, and there's a big party going on. And I keep getting flashes of being part of this party. And then but then their memory comes through. So when I get a real memory, their fake programming comes in. And so I was very confused all the way home. And when I got home, I was called my parents, and my parents said, for the love of God, we haven't seen you since your marriage. And I said, I don't remember a marriage. And they explained to me that I did indeed contact them. And actually on January 3rd is when I went to the college, January, I don't know, 11th or 12th or something like that. I contacted them and said, put an advertisement in the paper, I'm getting married. And they said, you can't get married to somebody you don't know and you've only known for a week or two. And I said, no, I'm getting married, and I'll let you know when my wedding's going to be. And then they got sent this invitation, which was in February the 14th, I think it is. So that's 1 month from the time I was kidnapped. And that was the driving program that they took me in. And I ended up in a regression, finding out that I was standing in front of a mirror and I saw myself in a wedding dress, but it wasn't me. It was my alter, Darlene. And I said, oh my gosh, stop. I don't know this person. No. And, and so I'm trying to scream. And my therapist, all of a sudden, my therapist tells me that I open my eyes and I start smiling. And she said, how come you don't remember your wedding? And because I'm saying, I don't remember my wedding. I don't remember a wedding. She's, why don't you remember? And Darlene says to her, because it's not her wedding, it's mine. And she's asleep like she's supposed to be. So that was Darlene. So she was the one that was married to Charlie, who also, by the way, Charles was one of my alters as well, but it wasn't a person. It was an aspect of him, but his name was Charlie. So that happened. And during that time, I found out that I had been part of the presidential model program, and I was used as party favors at big swanky events, such as Eyes Wide Shut. The movie Eyes Wide Shut is a real movie. The ones that they're proclaiming to be prostitutes are kidnapped young women and boys, also used as party favors. So then I tried to get back on with my life. And in 1970, I had another missing period of time when I was called on the phone, and I answered the phone, and I thought it was a fax machine and I forgot everything from then. And the next thing I know, I woke up again 8 months. This one was a little over 8 months later, almost 9 months later. And that was in San Francisco. I ended up finding out that not only did I have picked up by my handler, but I was taken to MIT. And at MIT, which is not the way to San Francisco, MIT is in New York. I was taken in this basement of the MIT, and with other women that were there, we were put into chairs, and we were time traveled. How would I put it? Well, they put object on our head. They gave us drugs and stuff. And we went down this time tunnel. And at the end of the time tunnel was the future. So we went into the future. And for me, I went into the future. I was moving around without a body, basically, and moving around and seeing things. And my purpose there, my mission there was to get all the information about what are the companies that are thriving in the future, what stocks are thriving and doing well in the future, what baseball teams, what what games, what technologies, all of these things, and bring back this information and give this to the rich people so they can get richer. So it's a way for them to find out ahead of time what stocks to buy, what companies to buy into, and even what sport games to bet on, so they could get richer. So that was that mission that I did, and then the next thing I know, I'm in San Francisco. I'm at the Bohemian Grove. Bohemian Grove has a chalet deep inside the woods there that they used as party favors. I was, let's see, I was also, this what it says here is drug mules. We were drug mules. We were used to transport drugs through airports and bus stations and things like that. We were used in couriers taken all over the world. And like on one particular time I'll just give you an example. I was picked up, taken to an airplane. It seemed to be a smaller airplane, not like a big jet. And there were other women and men, and then men too that were on it. But it was a smaller ship. I mean, a smaller plane. And then I was picked up on the other end, in a limo, and taken to this area where it was cobblestone. So I knew I was out of the United States. But I don't know where I was. I walked up and I gave this specific phrase to him. When the man who answered the door, he gave me a phrase back. I went in and I gave him the information. The information I gave him was that the factions, the shadow government, the CIA, the CIA basically wanted to take over a country. They wanted a coup to happen. They wanted to put their own person in place. So I was giving him all the information of what was going to be happening. And so that's the kind of thing that us couriers were used for. Also, let me see, I think that's probably enough there. So I want to go into the MILAB. So I got back home. The way I got back home is my brother knocks on the door and says, "We had a private detective looking for you ever since you disappeared out of your home on such and such day," which ended up being 8 months later. And he said, "Where have you been?" And I said, "I have no idea. I don't remember anything until you just knocked on the door." So I went back home, and from there, in 1982, things kind of calmed down, or I thought anyway. I got married, had children, but throughout the whole time, it's not normal because I don't remember my children's births. I don't remember their walking, their first words. I don't remember any of it. So throughout that whole time, I was taken back and forth. In 82, I ended up back in what I would consider, that was the time when I was in my 20s. I was back in secret space, back in space. And at that time I worked at a Bardo, and I was also doing that same type of thing that I was doing on the planet here. I was also there. I was later on in my 20s, like 28 or 29, I evidently maybe got a raise and got a different job, because in this job, part of my job was to control and handle. I was a handler for super soldiers. And I would they all lived we lived in the dorms all together. I was in charge of them. I would send them to different kinds of modalities to learn how to do shooting and fighting and hand-to-hand combat and all of that. And I was kind of, some people call me a mother, the other ones call me a handler. So that's what I did there. And I did that for the Germans. And then I got back home, like I said, somewhere, but I was off and on. It's like it's the strangest thing. I can't explain it to you, how you cannot remember your children's lives. But at the same time where you're having experiences when you're in secret space time. It's so bizarre. So in 82, I started having really horrible experiences, being taken out of my home by grays and reptilians. Now, up until then, my gray experiences hadn't been what I considered scary or bad. But then all of a sudden, they became very terrifying. I was taken underground bases, and I'll give you a couple of examples. So one time woke up and I'm walking down a hallway, and there are, and I hope I'm not repeating, these stories from the first interview, but can't remember if I've shared about this. Do you remember if I shared about a hallway and an alien?
No, I don't think you're repeating anything.
Okay, good. All right. So, and these people are passing me. They're in uniforms and lab coats. And they look at me, but they don't look at, and I know there's something next to me, and I can feel his energy, and I can smell him. He doesn't smell like a human by any means. And so I asked him telepathically, because one of the reasons they take me is because I'm an interfacer, and I interface with aliens. I can hear them and they can hear me. I can communicate telepathically with them. So I said to him, so we're here, they're looking at me, but they don't look at you. Why don't they look at you when they pass? And he sent me an energy back and said, because they know better. This is our floor. This is our level. They're not allowed to look at us. And if they do, it's like serious consequences kind of attitude. And then he shows me imagery of a soldier who's being arrested and taken off because he looked in his direction. And then another soldier is screaming like he's crazy because he looked into his eyes, because they have hypnotic eyes. So you're not supposed to look in their eyes because you get kind of all kinds of weird stuff going on, which indeed had happened to me, did happen to me afterwards, or it could have been before. I'm not 100% sure. That I was being interrogated by a lieutenant colonel, and he was screaming and yelling at me, and he wanted to know where Ayana was, which is my reptilian that I met at 16 years old. Now, he came back into my life. And so they're trying to find their base. And so he says, where is it? Where is it? I know their ship is close by. Where? And so I kept saying, no, I don't know. And they gave me this liquid, like a yellow, gooey kind of stuff that rolled down my throat. And then they brought in this guy here on the left. Or it could have been this guy. It's kind of hard to just remember the difference of him. But he looked into my eyes, and he was taking all of as the interrogator would ask the questions, he took the answers right out of my head. As you get a question asked and the answers come up, he's was sucking it out of my head. I don't know how in the world he was doing it, but that's what he was doing. So they're really, really powerful psychically. And then another experience, I saw another one that looked kind of like this one, but a little bit different, more of a bigger head. He was standing at a door, and I was sitting on a table, and or a bed or a cot, whatever, table thing. And he says, and I said to him telepathically, why are you invading our planet? What did we do to you? And he sends me back this imagery and this words. We're not the invaders. You are. We were here long before you. Then he shows me all of these satellites coming down to these prehistorics on these dinosaurs, and all these prehistorics are running and running from all these comets that are destroying. It's an extinction event of Earth. And they're directed by ships up there and their weapons. And he said, and those of us who were intelligent went into the inner earth and evolved before of who you see before you. So that was kind of an interesting situation as well. Also, the Nightmare Hall, that was other times, and that was in California and Arizona, where I was taken to places that had people in cages and half alien and half human, and some horrific stuff like that. So Ayano did indeed show himself after. Actually, it wasn't before, it was after. No, it was before. It was before. He showed himself in like about, it says 89, but he actually showed himself earlier than that, I think, when I think about that. But anyway, it must have been like 90s that this was happening. Yeah, it had to have been in the 90s. Anyway, it doesn't matter. So he showed himself, he came like this first with this energy. And then one day he finally showed himself as who he was. And I said, I recognize you from before. And he said, yes, I'm sent